Stop waiting for the perfect moment. It doesn't exist. Life isn't fair, and it never promised to be. Complaining won't change your circumstances, and saying, "That's just who I am," only locks you into a prison of your own making. The truth is, you're not stuck. You're choosing to stay still. But here's the shocking reality. You have more power than you think. You can let go of what you can't control, rewrite the habits that hold you back, and take action instead of standing on the sidelines of your own life. In this video, we're going to uncover the silent truths that are keeping you stuck, and more importantly, how to break free. We'll dive into the mindset shifts you need, the small but powerful actions that truly change your life, and the wisdom of those who've been where you are and found their way forward. This isn't just another motivational speech. This is your wake-up call. Stay with me until the end, because every second matters. By the time we're done, you'll not only understand what's holding you back, but also how to take control, step by step. Don't just listen, reflect, feel, and act. This is the moment that could change everything for you. Are you ready to take that first step? Let's begin. One, master your emotions. In the silent moments of life, when the noise of the world fades away, we are left alone with our thoughts and feelings. For many, this silence can feel unbearable, like a void they must fill at any cost. So, we reach for distractions, our phones, endless scrolling, busy schedules, not because we have something urgent to do, but because we are running from the discomfort of emotions we don't want to face. But here's the truth. Avoiding your emotions doesn't erase them. It only buries them deeper, where they fester, waiting to resurface when you least expect it. The Stoics, masters of self-discipline and inner strength, taught us that emotions are not enemies to be feared, but signals to be understood. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Emotions, in their raw form, are simply data. They are neither good nor bad, they just are. They tell us something about ourselves, about our values, fears, and desires, but they are not commands. Feeling anger doesn't mean you must lash out. Feeling sadness doesn't mean you must collapse. The power lies in observing these emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Consider this. Instead of saying, "I'm sad," say, "I'm experiencing sadness." That subtle shift in language creates a profound distance between you and the emotion. It reminds you that you are not your sadness, your anger, or your anxiety. You are the observer, the one who watches these feelings come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. This perspective is liberating. It allows you to sit with your emotions without being consumed by them. Take, for example, the story of a colleague named Sarah. She was always the calm one at work, the person who never seemed rattled by deadlines or office politics. One day, after a particularly grueling meeting where she was unfairly criticized, Sarah quietly excused herself. Later, when asked how she managed to stay composed, she said, "I let myself feel the frustration, but I didn't let it own me." I asked myself, what is this anger trying to tell me? It wasn't about the meeting. It was about my fear of not being valued. Once I understood that, the anger lost its grip. This is the essence of mastering your emotions, treating them as messengers, not masters. When you pause to reflect on what your feelings are trying to convey, you gain clarity. Anger might be pointing to a boundary that's been crossed. Sadness might be reminding you of something or someone you deeply care about. Anxiety might be urging you to prepare for a challenge ahead. But none of emotions are permanent. They are fleeting like waves on the ocean, and you are the steady shore. In today's hyper-connected world, where distractions are endless, mastering your emotions is more important than ever. The next time you feel overwhelmed, resist the urge to numb yourself with noise. Instead, sit in silence. Ask yourself, what is this emotion to teach me? This simple act of self-awareness can transform how you navigate life's challenges. As Seneca wisely said, if you really want to escape the things that harass you, what you're needing is not to be in a different place, but to be a different person. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It means understanding them, learning from them, and ultimately rising above them. This is how you take control not of the world, but of yourself. And in doing so, you find a strength that no external chaos can shake. 2. Let go of desire. Desire at first glance appears harmless, even motivating. It whispers promises of fulfillment. If only you could have that promotion, that new car, that perfect relationship. But desire is deceptive. It's what the Stoics called a polished chain, gleaming and alluring, yet binding you in ways you fail to notice. The pursuit of desire often leads not to freedom, but to frustration, as you tether your happiness to things outside your control. And the more you chase, the further contentment seems to slip away. Think about the endless cycle of consumerism in modern life. You buy the latest smartphone, convinced it will make your life easier, perhaps even happier. For a moment, it does. But soon, a newer model is released, and that fleeting satisfaction dissolves into dissatisfaction once again. This is the trap of desire. It keeps you running, always reaching, but never arriving. As Epictetus wisely observed, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Letting go of desire doesn't mean abandoning ambition or giving up on life's pleasures. It means shifting your focus from external cravings to internal contentment. Gratitude becomes your anchor. Instead of yearning for what you don't have, you begin to appreciate what's already present. The cup of coffee in your hand, the laughter of a child, the silent beauty of a sunrise. These simple moments, when truly noticed, can outweigh the hollow promises of material gain. Consider the story of John, a man who spent years climbing the corporate ladder. He worked tirelessly, sacrificing time with his family, convinced that the next promotion would bring him peace. When he finally achieved his goal, he felt an emptiness he couldn't explain. It wasn't until a weekend spent with his children, playing board games and sharing stories, that he realized what he had been missing. The joy he sought wasn't in the corner office, but in the quiet, overlooked moments of his daily life. The Stoics teach us that freedom comes not from satisfying desire, but from mastering it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This philosophy challenges us to examine our attachments. Are we chasing things because they truly matter, or because we've been conditioned to believe they do? To practice letting go, start small. The next time you feel the urge to buy something, pause and ask yourself, do I need this, or am I trying to fill an emotional gap? When you catch yourself longing for recognition or approval, reflect on whether that desire aligns with your values or is simply a reaction to fear or insecurity. These moments of self-awareness are powerful. They break the cycle of autopilot living and bring you closer to clarity. Gratitude is the antidote to desire. Take a moment each day to silently acknowledge 3 things you're thankful for. This practice rewires your mind to focus on abundance rather than lack. And in doing so, it frees you from the chains of unnecessary yearning, allowing you to live lighter, freer, and more present. Letting go of desire isn't about deprivation, it's about liberation. It's about reclaiming your energy from the endless chase and redirecting it toward what truly matters. Because in the end, the richest life is not the one filled with possessions, but the one filled with peace. 3. Own your mistakes. There's a silent power in admitting, I was wrong. It's not the kind of power that shouts or demands attention, but the quiet, steady strength that builds character and opens doors to growth. Yet for many of us, admitting mistakes feels like a defeat, a crack in the armor we've worked so hard to maintain. But the truth is, mistakes are not failures. They are teachers, offering lessons we can only learn by facing them head on. Think about the last time you made a mistake. Perhaps it was at work, where a rushed decision cost your team valuable time. Or maybe it was in a relationship, where a careless word left a mark on someone you care about. In those moments, it's tempting to deflect, to place blame elsewhere, or to bury the mistake under layers of justification. But doing so only deepens the wound. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." Growth begins the moment you stop clinging to your pride and start embracing the lessons hidden within your errors. Consider the story of Daniel Kahneman, the Nobel Prize-winning psychologist. Early in his career, Kahneman championed a theory that gained widespread acceptance in the scientific community. But when new evidence emerged that contradicted his work, he didn't dig in his heels or defend his position out of pride. Instead, he openly admitted he was wrong and encouraged his peers to re-evaluate the theory. His humility not only preserved his credibility, but also deepened the respect others had for him. Kahneman's willingness to own his mistake didn't diminish his legacy, it strengthened it. Mistakes, when approached with curiosity instead of shame, become mirrors reflecting the areas where we need to grow. They reveal blind spots we might never have noticed otherwise. A chef who burns a dish learns to adjust the heat. A writer who receives criticism learns to refine their craft. A parent who loses their temper learns to practice patience. Every mistake carries a lesson, but only if you're willing to listen. Admitting mistakes also strengthens relationships. Think about it. When someone wrongs you but refuses to acknowledge it, doesn't it create a rift? Now flip the perspective. When you own up to your own missteps, it shows integrity and respect for the other person. It says, I value this relationship more than my ego. This simple act of accountability can repair trust and deepen bonds in ways that silence never could. The Stoics remind us that perfection is not the goal, progress is. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If anyone can prove and show to me that I think or act in error, I will gladly change it, for I seek the truth." This mindset transforms mistakes from sources of embarrassment into stepping stones toward wisdom. So, the next time you falter, resist the urge to cover it up. Instead, pause, reflect, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Then take ownership, no matter how uncomfortable it feels. Growth isn't about avoiding mistakes, it's about using them to become better. In the end, the strongest people aren't those who never stumble, but those who rise every time they fall, carrying the lessons they've learned into a brighter, wiser future. 4. Break bad habits. Bad habits are like silent thieves, gradually stealing your time, energy, and potential without you even noticing. They don't arrive with a loud knock at the door. Instead, they creep in quietly, disguised as harmless choices. Skipping one workout turns into weeks of inactivity. Checking your phone for just a minute morphs into hours of mindless scrolling. These habits, built from small, repeated actions, quietly shape your life in ways you might not realize until it's too late. But here's the good news. Just as bad habits are formed through small actions, they can be undone the same way. The Stoics believed in the power of deliberate practice and discipline. As Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." Breaking bad habits is not about sudden, dramatic changes. It's about consistent, intentional effort over time. Take a moment to reflect on your daily routines. Are there patterns that no longer serve you? Perhaps it's the habit of hitting snooze every morning, leaving you rushed and stressed. Or maybe it's the tendency to procrastinate, telling yourself you'll start tomorrow while today slips away. These habits didn't form overnight, and they won't disappear overnight either. But they can be replaced one small step at a time. One of the most effective ways to break bad habits is to replace them with positive ones. This process, often referred to as habit stacking, involves attaching a new habit to an existing one. For example, if you start your day with a cup of coffee, use that moment to write down 3 goals for the day. The coffee becomes a trigger for a productive habit, gradually rewiring your brain to associate the two. Over time, this simple practice helps you shift from mindless behavior to intentional action. Consider the story of James, a young professional who struggled with staying focused at work. His bad habit? Checking his phone every few minutes, which derailed his concentration and productivity. Instead of trying to quit cold turkey, he decided to stack a new habit onto his existing routine. Every time he reached for his phone, he paused to take 3 deep breaths and refocus on the task at hand. This small, conscious act helped him break the cycle of distraction and reclaim his attention. Breaking bad habits also requires self-compassion. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-criticism when you slip up, but beating yourself up only reinforces negative patterns. Instead, Treat each setback as a learning opportunity. Ask yourself, what triggered this habit? How can I respond differently next time? This approach not only keeps you moving forward, but also strengthens your resilience. Remember, habits are not destiny. They are choices repeated over time, and choices can be changed. Start small. Identify one bad habit you want to break and replace it with a new, positive one. Be patient with yourself and celebrate each small victory along the way. As Aristotle wisely said, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. By breaking bad habits and building better ones, you take control of your life, one small action at a time. And in that silent, steady process, you'll discover the power to transform yourself into the person you've always aspired to be. 5. Stop playing the victim. Life is full of challenges, some expected, others arriving uninvited, shaking the very foundation of our plans. In these moments of adversity, it's easy to feel powerless, to slip into the role of the victim, blaming circumstances, people, or even fate for our misfortunes. But playing the victim is a silent thief, robbing you of your strength, your resilience, and your ability to grow. Adversity is not there to destroy you. It is there to shape you, to refine you, to teach you lessons that comfort and ease never could. The Stoics believed that adversity is not an obstacle, it is the path. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This profound insight reminds us that challenges are not barriers, but opportunities to grow stronger. Every difficulty you face carries within it a seed of growth, but only if you are willing to stop blaming the world and start asking the right questions. Story of Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential figures of our time. Born into poverty, she endured a childhood marked by abuse and hardship. It would have been easy for her to succumb to bitterness, to let her circumstances define her. But instead, she chose to rise above them. Oprah didn't play the victim. She used her pain as fuel to build a life of purpose and impact. She once said, "Turn your wounds into wisdom." Her story is a testament to the power of shifting your perspective from "why me" to "what can I learn from this?" Blaming others or external circumstances for your struggles might feel justified in the moment, but it keeps you stuck. It places your power in the hands of others, leaving you at the mercy of forces beyond your control. Instead, take ownership. When faced with a challenge, ask yourself, how can I use this to grow? What skills, strength, or wisdom can I develop from this experience? This mindset shift transforms adversity from a source of despair into a catalyst for transformation. For example, think of a person who loses their job unexpectedly. One could spiral into self-pity, blaming the economy, the company, or even colleagues. But another might see it as an opportunity to reassess their career path, to pursue a passion they had long neglected, or to develop new skills. The difference lies not in the situation, but in the mindset. As Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and renowned psychiatrist, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." Adversity is life's way of testing your resolve. It strips away the superficial and forces you to confront who you truly are. In those silent moments, when the noise of blame and excuses fades, you are left with a choice: to remain a victim or to rise as a victor. The former keeps you stagnant, while the latter propels you toward growth and self-discovery. So the next time life throws you a curveball, resist the urge to ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, ask, "What is this teaching me? How can I use this to become better, stronger, wiser?" By taking responsibility for your response to adversity, you reclaim your power. You stop playing the victim and start becoming the hero of your own story. And in doing so, you not only grow, you inspire others to do the same. 6. Rely on discipline, not on motivation. Motivation is fleeting. It's like a spark, bright and exciting in the moment, but quick to fade when the winds of life blow too hard. Discipline, on the other hand, is the steady flame that keeps burning, even in the silent, darkest hours when motivation is nowhere to be found. If you build your life around waiting for motivation, you'll forever be at the mercy of your moods and circumstances. But if you cultivate discipline, you'll discover a strength that carries you through, no matter how uninspired or tired you feel. Think about it. How many times have you set a goal, feeling inspired and energized, only to abandon it when the initial excitement wore off? Perhaps you started a fitness journey, waking up early for a week, only to give up when the alarm felt too early or the workouts too hard. Or maybe you planned to write that book or start that business, but after the first wave of enthusiasm, procrastination crept in. This is the trap of relying on motivation. It's unreliable, inconsistent, and often disappears when you need it most. Discipline, however, it's not tied to how you feel in the moment. It's a commitment to doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. As the renowned author and Navy SEAL Jocko Willink says, discipline equals freedom. It may sound paradoxical, but the more disciplined you are, the freer you become. Discipline frees you from the chaos of indecision, the weight of procrastination, and the regret of missed opportunities. Consider the story of Serena Williams, one of the greatest athletes of all time. Her achievements weren't the result of fleeting motivation, but of relentless discipline. Day after day, she practiced, even when she didn't feel like it, even when her body ached, even when the desire to rest was overwhelming. It wasn't motivation that pushed her to greatness, it was her discipline, her unwavering commitment to her craft. She once said, "Luck has nothing to do with it, because I have spent many hours, countless hours, on the court working for my one moment in time." To build discipline, start small. Focus on consistency rather than perfection. If you want to cultivate a habit of reading, commit to just 5 pages a day. If you want to exercise, start with 10 minutes. The key is to show up every day, no matter how you feel. Over time, these small actions compound, creating momentum that carries you forward. Another powerful strategy is to create routines. Discipline thrives on structure. When you establish a routine, You eliminate the need to decide whether or not to act. It becomes automatic. For example, if you want to write every day, set a specific time and place for it. Treat it like an appointment you can't miss. The more you stick to your routines, the less you'll rely on motivation to get things done. Discipline is also about embracing discomfort. Growth rarely happens in comfort zones. The Stoics understood this deeply. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastering yourself means taking action even when the task is hard, boring, or inconvenient. It's about doing what's right, not what's easy. Motivation may inspire you to start, but discipline ensures you finish. It's the quiet force that keeps you moving forward, step by step, even when the journey feels long and the road uncertain. So when you find yourself waiting for motivation to strike, remember this: you don't need to feel inspired to act. You just need to act. Discipline will carry you where motivation cannot, and in the process, it will transform you into the person you were meant to be. 7. Drop the justice illusion. The world, as much as we long for it to be, is not fair. It never has been, and it likely never will be. Injustice exists in every corner of life, at work, in relationships, in society. But while the world may remain indifferent to fairness, you don't have to be. You can live justly, not by demanding fairness from others, but by holding yourself accountable to your own values. True justice is not about the external world aligning with your expectations. It's about your inner world reflecting your integrity. There's a silent pain in realizing that life doesn't always reward the deserving. You've probably seen it yourself. The hard-working employee overlooked for a promotion, the kind-hearted friend betrayed by someone they trusted, or the talented artist whose work goes unrecognized. It's tempting to let these injustices make you bitter, to harden your heart and adopt a cynical view of the world. But bitterness is a poison that only hurts the one who drinks it. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." When you cling to the illusion that the world should be fair, you set yourself up for disappointment. You give external circumstances the power to dictate your peace of mind. But when you accept the reality of life's imperfections, you free yourself from the grip of resentment. This doesn't mean you condone injustice or stop caring about fairness. It means you stop letting it control you. Instead of waiting for the world to change, you focus on what you can control: your actions, your choices, your values. Consider the story of Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison for opposing apartheid, he could have emerged angry and vengeful. Few would have blamed him for seeking retribution against those who had wronged him. But Mandela chose a different path. He understood that holding on to bitterness would only perpetuate the cycle of injustice. Instead, he forgave his oppressors and worked toward reconciliation. His actions were not a reflection of the world's fairness, but of his own unwavering commitment to justice and humanity. Living justly in an unjust world requires strength. It means refusing to let the unfairness of life dictate your character. It means choosing to act with kindness, honesty, and integrity, even when others do not. For example, if a colleague takes credit for your work, You can address the issue calmly and professionally without stooping to their level. If a friend betrays your trust, you can set boundaries without becoming distrustful of everyone else. These choices are not about changing the behavior of others, but about staying true to who you are. The world's injustice is not an excuse to abandon your principles. On the contrary, it's a call to live them more fiercely. As Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, wrote in Man's Search for Meaning, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. You may not be able to make the world fair, but you can choose to be fair. You can choose to live with integrity, even when it feels like no one is watching or cares. So, don't let injustice make you bitter or lose faith in humanity. Instead, let it strengthen your resolve to be the kind of person who brings light into a dark world. The world may not be fair, but your actions can still reflect your deepest values. And in doing so, you become a beacon of justice, not because the world is just, but because you are." 8. Release what you can't control. There is a silent truth that governs our lives. Much of what happens to us is beyond our control. Other people's actions, the circumstances we find ourselves in, the twists and turns of fates are forces we cannot command, no matter how much we wish otherwise. The more we fight against this reality, the more we suffer. But the moment we release what we cannot control, we find freedom. Freedom from anxiety, from resentment, and from the endless cycle of frustration that comes from trying to bend the world to our will. The Stoics understood this truth deeply. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet profound wisdom reminds us that while we have no control over the external world, we have absolute control over our internal one. Your response, your attitude, your perspective, these are yours to govern. When you focus on mastering yourself instead of the uncontrollable chaos around you, you reclaim your power. Consider the story of Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning. Stripped of everything, his family, his freedom, his dignity, Frankl faced unimaginable suffering. Yet, even in the depths of a concentration camp, he realized one thing remained within his control: his ability to choose his response. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing. The last of the human freedom stow, choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." This perspective didn't change the horrors he endured, but it gave him the strength to rise above them, to find meaning even in suffering. In your own life, there will be countless moments when you're tempted to wrestle with the uncontrollable. Perhaps a colleague undermines you at work, a loved one makes a hurtful decision, or unforeseen events derail your plans. It's natural to feel anger, frustration, or sadness in these moments. But ask yourself, will obsessing over what you can't change bring you peace? Will it solve the problem? The answer is almost always no. Instead, shift your focus to what you can control: your actions, your mindset, your next steps. For example, if someone spreads false rumors about you, you can't control their words, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to confront them calmly, to protect your reputation through your actions, or to let it go entirely. The choice is yours. By focusing on your response instead of their behavior, you take back the power they tried to steal from you. Releasing what you can't control doesn't mean you're passive or indifferent. It means you're wise enough to direct your energy where it matters most. Worrying about things outside your control is like trying to stop the wind with your hands. It's futile and exhausting. Instead, focus on adjusting your sails, navigating the storm with intention and grace. As the Serenity Prayer wisely states, "Grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference." Life will always present challenges, and people will not always act as you'd hope. But when you stop clinging to the illusion of control over others and focus on mastering yourself, you'll find a quiet strength within. You'll discover that peace isn't found in controlling the world, it's found in controlling how you move through it. Release what you can't control, and you'll make room for what truly matters: your growth, your values, and your inner peace. 9. Stop saying, "That's just who I am." How often have you heard someone say, "That's just who I am," as an excuse for their behavior? Perhaps you've even said it yourself. It's a phrase that feels comforting in the moment, a shield against the discomfort of change. But in truth, it's a silent barrier to growth, a resignation to limitations that don't have to define you. Character is not destiny. Who you are today does not have to be who you are tomorrow. Change is always possible if you're willing to embrace it. The belief that personality or habits are fixed is not only limiting but also scientifically untrue. Neuroscience has shown us that the brain is neuroplasticity, has the remarkable ability to rewire itself. Every thought, every action, every new habit you form creates new neural pathways. This means that no matter how ingrained a behavior feels, you can learn to think and act differently. As the philosopher William James once said, "The greatest discovery of my generation is that a human being can alter his life by altering his attitudes." Take the story of someone like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Early in his life, he faced failure after failure. He was cut from his dream of playing professional football, and he found himself with just $7 in his pocket. He could have easily said, "That's just who I am, a failure." But instead, he chose to rewrite his story. Through relentless effort and a commitment to self-improvement, he transformed himself into a global icon, not just in wrestling and acting, but also as a symbol of perseverance. His journey is proof that our past does not have to dictate our future. When you say, "That's just who I am," you give up your power. You surrender to the idea that your habits, reactions, or flaws are permanent. But the truth is, every habit can be unlearned, and every reaction can be reprogrammed. For example, if you're someone who struggles with anger, you might tell yourself, "I've always been short-tempered." But instead of accepting that as your identity, you can choose to work on it through mindfulness, therapy, or simple practices like taking a deep breath before responding. Over time, you'll notice a shift. What once felt like an inherent trait becomes a choice. This process requires effort, yes, but it also requires honesty. You must be willing to confront the parts of yourself that you've been defending with excuses. If you've been avoiding challenges because you believe you're not a disciplined person, ask yourself, Is this really who I am, or is it just a habit I've fallen into? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Change begins with a decision, followed by consistent action. Think of your character not as a fixed sculpture, but as a piece of clay, malleable, ever-changing, shaped by your choices. Each day is an opportunity to mold yourself into a better version of who you were yesterday. If you've been impatient, practice patience. If you've been self-critical, practice self-compassion. If you've been stuck in fear, take a small step toward courage. These small, deliberate actions compound over time, transforming not just your habits, but your identity. So, stop saying, "That's just who I am." Instead, start asking, "Who do I want to become?" Let go of the belief that you are bound by your past. You are not your mistakes, your habits, or even your current circumstances. You are a work in progress, and as long as you're alive, you have the power to change. The brain's capacity for growth is limitless, and so is yours. All it takes is the courage to take the first step. 10. Act instead of complaining. Complaining is the silent thief of progress. It feels satisfying in the moment, a way to release frustration or call attention to the injustices and inconveniences of life. But in reality, it traps you in a cycle of inaction. Every complaint you voice is a step away from taking control of your life. When you complain, you become a bystander, watching your own life unfold without stepping in to shape it. The truth is, change doesn't come from words of frustration, it comes from action, no matter how small. Think about it. How often do we hear people complain about their circumstances, about their jobs, their relationships, their health, or even society at large? Perhaps you've done it too, venting about how unfair or overwhelming life feels. But after the words have left your lips, what has changed? The job remains stressful, the relationship remains strained, and the world continues as it always has. Complaining may feel like doing something, but it's merely a distraction from what really needs to be done. Instead of complaining, take action. Even the smallest step forward can break the cycle of passivity. Let's say you're unhappy with your job. Instead of endlessly venting to coworkers or friends, spend 2 minutes updating your resume. Research one new skill that could make you more marketable. Send a single email to someone in your network. These small actions may seem insignificant, but they create momentum. They shift your focus from what's wrong to what you can do about it. Consider the story of Oprah Winfrey. Born into poverty and facing numerous hardships, she could have spent her life lamenting her circumstances. But instead of complaining, she acted. She pursued education, took risks in her career, and worked tirelessly to build a platform that now inspires millions. Oprah once said, "The greatest discovery of all time is that a person can change their future by merely changing their attitude." Her life is a testament to the power of action over complaint. It's important to recognize that complaining often stems from a sense of powerlessness. But here's the thing, you're not powerless. You may not control every aspect of your life, but you always control how you respond to it. If you're unhappy with your health, start with a 2-minute walk. If your relationship feels distant, initiate an honest conversation. If you're frustrated with the state of the world, volunteer your time or donate to a cause you care about. These actions may not solve the problem overnight, but they put you back in the driver's seat of your life. The Stoics understood this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In other words, stop talking about what should be done and start doing it. Complaining is easy, action is hard. But it's through action that we grow, learn, and create the lives we want. The next time you catch yourself complaining, pause and ask, what can I do about this right now? Even if the answer is small, sending an email, making a phone call, or simply changing your perspective, it's a step forward. And every step forward, no matter how small, brings you closer to the life you want to live. Complaining keeps you stuck, but action sets you free. So, stop being a bystander. Take that first step, no matter how small. The power to change your life is already in your hands. You just have to use it. Life is too short to waste it complaining, making excuses, or staying stuck in the same patterns. The truth is, you have the power to change it right here, right now. It doesn't take a grand gesture or a perfect plan. It starts with a single step, a small action, and a decision to stop being a bystander in your own life. Whether it's letting go of excuses like, "That's just who I am," or choosing to act instead of complain. Every choice you make shapes the person you're becoming. The message is simple. You are not defined by your past, your habits, or your circumstances. You are defined by the actions you take today. So, stop waiting for the perfect moment, it's already here. Take control, break free from the chains of inaction, and start building the life you deserve. If this video inspired you, don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel for more content that will challenge your mindset, push you to grow, and guide you on your journey to becoming your best self. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it, and let's create a community of action takers, not excuse makers. Your future self is waiting. What will you do today to meet them?